Hi, everyone. Welcome to January Teacher Development on different learning methods. Please prepare for this session by exiting from all your other tabs, placing all your devices on Do Not Disturb, and completing this lecture in a quiet place with no distractions. This lecture is going to be on Chapter 4 of Thinking Collaboratively by D. Randy Garrison, so please make sure that you've read that. To set up, just to go over the WebEx setup first. So if you want to look at the participants, it should be on your right-hand side. If you'd like to type something in the chat, click on chat. It's on the bottom right. It should be a little chat symbol down there. Audio, if you'd like to mute and unmute yourself, there should be a microphone symbol on the bottom. And looks like you guys have your videos on, but if you'd like to start or stop your video, just click the stop video button right here on the bottom. And then I just want to do a quality check to make sure everything's set up properly before we move on. Could you guys click the raise hand symbol if you see the big red recording button? Okay, Carly, thank you. Trista, thank you. Could you guys raise your hand if you see my slides with quality check on the front? Okay, thank you. And then raise your hand if you can hear me. Okay, thank you guys. Sounds like everything's good. Okay, so these are the learning objectives for the lesson today. Upon completing this lecture, students will be able to explain the different learning methods, including distance education, campus education, blended learning, and MOOCs, describe the benefits and or downfalls of each learning method, and integrate blended learning in their classrooms. Distance education. Did you know the first recorded example of distance education was in 1728? People in the British North American colonies received courses through the post. Although distance learning may seem like a relatively modern phenomenon, it actually goes way back, and by the 1916s, students could attend college by receiving packets in the post. And although this was convenient, it was regarded as a bit of a failure in terms of education quality. Campus education is the traditional form of education nowadays, but is it really more advantageous than distance education? Today, we'll be discussing different types of education and the pros and cons of each. Blended learning is a combination of face-to-face and online learning. According to Dr. Garrison in Chapter 4 of our text, blended learning is advantageous due to its effectiveness, efficiency, and convenience. We'll discuss this more later on. So for an icebreaker, I would just like to know what types of learning each of you have experienced throughout your schooling. So we're just gonna have you guys unmute yourselves if you're muted by clicking on the microphone. So I'll call on Carly first. Carly, what kind of learning methods have you experienced?
I've had in like face-to-face lectures and learning environments, but they were really hands-on. And then more recently, I've started to have the online learning.
Okay, perfect. And Trista?
The majority of my education has been in the face-to-face, but I have also participated in online and hybrid or blended learning scenarios.
Okay, I've done all three. So I've done face-to-face and now I'm doing online, but I've also did hybrid classes where we would take exams in person, but most of the lecture would be online. So online learning, most distance education nowadays is offered online. Online learning has many benefits, including removing time, space, and socioeconomic restrictions. Students that previously were not able to attend college lectures due to reasons such as their job or location now have the opportunity to do so. So here's an activity. We're going to use the shape tool to create a shape around the correct answer, such as a circle or a rectangle. So I'll call on Trista this time. Trista, if you want to click the squiggly line in the top right corner and answer the question by circling or putting a square around it. Online education is the most common form of distance education. True. Yes, that is true. Online education is the most common form of distance education right now. Okay. Campus-based education. Research shows there's no difference in educational outcomes when comparing face-to-face to virtual lectures. In both scenarios, students are often passively listening, and education is focused on information recall and memorization. Fortunately, teachers are becoming more adept at using technology to increase collaborative thinking and engagement in the classroom. So this time, another true or false statement. Carly, if you could use the pen icon, face-to-face learning has better educational outcomes than online learning. Could you circle which answer you think is correct? False. That's correct. And could you erase that? And Trista, did you agree with her answer? Okay, let's move on.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so yes, the answer is false. On blended learning, an important consideration of blended learning is ensuring face-to-face and online components are designed thoughtfully. Blended learning can be beneficial when using online components to support collaborative thinking, increasing engagement, or faculty support. But it is important that these components are worthwhile. Otherwise, you're just increasing the workload for you and your students for minimal results. Okay, so another activity. According to Garrison, more than this percent of students took at least a few courses that were blended. So, Trista, could you use the arrow pointer to point at which answer you think is correct, and Carly as well? We didn't go over this, but it was mentioned in the text. That is correct. It is 85% of students have had some sort of blended learning course. So MOOCs. MOOCs are massively open online courses, are supposed to be learning communities that encourage collaboration. However, their large size make meaningful connection difficult. It is impossible for the expert facilitator to provide feedback and structure to such a large group. Completion rates are usually very low. Okay, so before we move on to the next phase, I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Can you guys use the emoticon, the smiley face, if you're okay with moving on? If not, you can put a sad emoji and we'll assess further. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Carly. Okay, so our next activity, before we talk about integration, I'm wondering what you guys think is which method gives the best learning outcomes. So if you could type your name in the box where you believe will provide the best learning outcomes. Thank you, Trista. And thank you, Carly. So I actually agree with you guys that I think blended learning provides the best educational outcomes. And that is the learning method that we will be implementing at our school. We can enhance face-to-face lectures by using technology to encourage collaboration and accessibility to information. So implementation. Blended learning can be implemented in the classroom by creating small collaborative groups that complete assignments online. The group would typically be completed after face-to-face lectures. So avoid enthusiastically implementing technology hastily or without reason. Technology in the classroom must be carefully managed so we aren't sacrificing effectiveness for efficiency and convenience. Before we move on to our final stage of the lecture, I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page and no one has any questions. So if you could type okay in the chat if you're okay with moving on. Otherwise, let me know if you have a question. Thank you, Trista. Thank you, Carly. So in summary, we discussed the different types of learning methods, including distance education, campus education, blended learning, and MOOCs. We determined that blending learning is the most beneficial for our institution, and we discussed how we will implement it in our classrooms to encourage collaborative thinking and engagement. So I'm going to open up a poll down here. And you guys should be able to see it on your right-hand side once I open it. So the question is, what are the benefits of blended learning? Do you guys see the poll? Okay. Okay, I can see that you guys both answered. And here's the answer, all of the above. And we have one more poll question. Okay, so true or false? We should implement technology in the classroom wherever we can. And you guys both got that one correct. It is false. We don't want to implement technology unless it's thoughtful, and we don't want to be sacrificing effectiveness for convenience. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you so much for joining in and listening. And if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat and I can answer them, or you can send me an email after the session. Thank you.